Unauthorized access to computer systems is illegal under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in the US and similar laws worldwide. Using these techniques against online games violates terms of service and can result in permanent bans. This series is about understanding how systems work at a low level, not about ruining someone else's game.
You didn't say the magic word. You didn't say the magic word.
Please! God damn it! Hate this hacker crap!
Hello friends! Today we will leave the safety of user space behind and embark on a journey into the kernel. For great power awaits the few wise enough to act in secret within this innermost sanctum of the system. But be warned, great danger lurks in the depths of Ring Zero. We must study well and protect ourselves, because one wrong step and our adventure might end in the blue screen.
But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge.
That's a hacking group we've been reporting on that's claimed responsibility for recent attacks.
Today we will learn some crucial, dare I say interesting fundamentals so that we are prepared and motivated to set up our environment and write our first driver in the upcoming sessions. First, let's have a look at some relevant historical happenings. In 1985, Intel introduced a protection system using 4 privilege rings, rings 0 to 3. The lower the number, the higher the power. You may have heard of ring 0 or ring 3 before, but what about ring 1 and 2? Well, back then all major operating systems were like 4 rings, come on bro, way too complicated, we'll take 2 and ignore the rest. To this day, ring 1 and 2 are still totally neglected. That did not stop CPU manufacturers from adding more rings. Beautiful rings, and so powerful. The most powerful rings you have ever seen. Around 1990, Intel introduced the System Management Mode, or SMM. It has been used for power management and other hardware functions ever since, and operates completely independent of the OS. When SMM is running, your entire system pauses, including the kernel. Today it is referred to as ring -2. Starting in 2003, TPM, short for Trusted Platform Module chips, started appearing on motherboards. TPM generates and stores cryptographic keys and ensures the system is not compromised during boot. These days, TPM can be a dedicated chip or baked into your CPU firmware. More on that later.
Which is, will the real TPM please stand up?
Microsoft started using TPM in 2007, back in the good old Vista days, by introducing BitLocker drive encryption. Recently, with Windows 11, TPM 2.0 became mandatory, which is one of the reasons they tried to enforce new hardware. In 2005, with the Intel VTX, yet another ring was forged, which, from a security perspective, sits between ring 0 and the SMM. Starting in 2008, Microsoft began using this new ring to create virtual machines with Hyper-V. With Windows 10, they finally started using it for protective measures by introducing Virtual-Based Security, or VBS. But there's even another ring, a ring to rule them all, the Management Engine, which was added in around 2008. It's basically a separate computer inside your CPU. I'm not kidding, it blew my mind reading up on it. And this is where, among other things, the TPM might reside. So let's have a closer look at all those rings and how they are used today, in order of privilege from lowest to highest. Ring 3, or User Mode, is where everything normal runs, for instance your game and Discord app. In general, they can't see each other's memory. In fact, they think they own the whole memory, that is, they are sandboxed. Which in general is a good thing. You don't want a bug in one program not only crashing itself but other programs as well. If you ever wrote an external cheat, you know that this is not exactly true. Using Windows API like read process memory, one user mode app can access the memory of another app. Ring 0 kernel mode is a different story. Here resides the Windows kernel itself, all drivers and of course modern anti-cheats. Here we can read any process memory, hook any function, become invisible to ring 3 and stand a chance against those ACs. However, if one makes a mistake here, the whole system crashes. Remember that thing back in 2024 when flights all around the world were cancelled and ATMs stopped working? One bad pointer in Ring 0, billions of damage. Modern anti-cheats like Vanguard, Easy Anti-Cheat and BattleEye also live in Ring 0. They register kernel callbacks to watch for process creation, image loading, registry changes. They scan memory looking for known cheat signatures. They hook system calls to catch cheats trying to read game memory. They fingerprint your hardware and ban it if they catch you doing naughty things. Which is why hardware ID spoofers also need to run in Ring 0. Ring -1 or root mode. This ring is used by a Type 1 hypervisor for hardware-assisted virtualization. The hypervisor creates and manages virtual machines using special CPU instructions to control the hardware directly. If enabled, Windows 11 uses a lightweight hypervisor underneath the kernel for virtual-based security or VBS. So when a kernel driver of our operating system thinks it's directly reading or writing physical RAM, in reality it communicates with the hypervisor. VBS creates isolated virtual environments using a hypervisor to run security checks on drivers. Its job is to watch Ring 0 to make sure nobody's doing funny business. Definitely something we need to keep in mind and deal with in due time. Some absolute chads are even writing custom hypervisors to sit in Ring -1 and debug kernel anti-cheats, pretty impressive stuff. Ring -2, the system management mode. This handles power management, thermal control, hardware stuff. Completely irrelevant for us. Honestly, if you can hack that one, what are you doing here? Like, stick around please, but just saying. Ring -3, the management engine. This is basically a separate computer inside your CPU. Literally. It has its own CPU, its own RAM, its own operating system and its own network interface. And it's always on. As long as there's power, it's running and it sees everything. I don't wanna sound like the gay frog guy, I'm just saying, do I think it's really just used for IT remote management? I don't know. So we got rings on rings on rings, but wait, there's more. Namely Secure Boot and TPM 2.0. Secure Boot verifies signatures on everything including bootloader, kernel and drivers during boot. TPM on the other hand stores cryptographic keys in a pretty secure way and ensures that Secure Boot is not compromised. So together they try to protect the hypervisor and kernel during boot. Technically TPM is now mandatory with Windows 11, but there are workarounds. Most cheats use signed vulnerable drivers to map unsigned naughty drivers into the kernel. The challenge here is finding one such driver because Microsoft maintains and updates a block list. And that's it for our first descent into Ring 0. Now that we have gathered some intel, we are ready to set up our environment and write our first driver in the next video. As always, thank you very much for watching, join the Discord, subscribe for more hacking videos. Until next time friends, talk to you soon.
We need a hacker mindset that is critical, that is creative, and that is ultimately absolutely subversive. We need to be ethical when it's appropriate.